Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. This is episode number 232 for September the 12th, 2023. And I hope everybody had a good weekend and I hope you're looking forward to this week and you're going to get something creative done and just enjoy life. So let's get right into what I've been working on. And the first thing, I talked a little bit about this on Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday. This is called Cats and Bats pattern. It is a pattern by a lady named Laureen Smith, and it comes from a company called Tourmaline and Time Quilts. I have never done any of these quilts before, but it looks like they're also affiliated with Northcott. Well, I had some problems with this quilt. Now, those of you that were on the Pop-Up Sew Day this past Saturday heard my anguished woes of grief as I was putting this together. Now, this isn't the worst pattern I've ever done before in terms of the instructions. That one goes to hands down to Patty Carey of Patty's Patchworks, and you've heard all about those. Well, something ironic here. This designer is also associated with Northcott, so was Patty. And I don't think Northcott really has a rigid editing process. Do they ever test their patterns out with people who did not make the pattern? However, having said that, I'm going to point out to you a couple of things about this pattern. First of all, let's talk about why I did it. Well, it is a Halloween quilt. I do like Halloween fabrics. It's probably the one time of the year when I really get into novelty fabrics, possibly Christmas as well. But I saw this panel somewhere, and I loved the panel. And I thought, okay, I have some leftover Halloween fabrics that I could probably make my own quilt using that panel. Well, I also looked at what it suggested in the pattern. At first, I didn't buy the pattern. I just saw the requirements for fabric, and it's a whole line of fabric called Hocus Pocus. And I like the line of fabric as well. So I decided to take the plunge. I bought the pattern, and I bought the fabrics for it. Okay. Earlier last week, in preparation for the Pop-Up Sew Day, I cut all the fabric, and that's fine. Cutting instructions were fairly straightforward. No problem there. But where the problem lay is in putting it together. These long strips that are here with the flying geese on them going, up and down on both sides, there was a problem in the instructions. The instructions said that you were to place a spacer piece. You can't see it in the picture, but there's a little spacer piece here that measures 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches unfinished. And you're to place one of those, then one of the flying geese, then one of the spacers, then another flying geese, then another spacer, then another flying geese, etc. Okay, along here. Actually, let's look at the top and the bottom borders because they're slightly different. So that's what I started to do. But the problem was you were supposed to make 2 of these flying geese that have 3 or 4 flying geese in each one, but then you join them together so that you got this square in the center. Well, if you put a flying geese piece at the end of right here, I don't know if you can see it, where that 1/2 of that final square is, you're not going to get a square, as they showed. Basically, what I think they had done is put where the spacers go, out of order, slightly out of order. Well, I overcame that problem. But the other thing, too, was the overall measurements of each of these pieces, because this pattern designer gave the final measurement for each of these long border pieces, and my finished ones did not come out to what they came out in the pattern. However, they were only out by about 1/2 inch. So I'm thinking, did I make a mistake? So I checked and double checked, and no, I had things right. My seam allowance was accurate, everything like that. Then I started to do the mathematics myself. I added up how much each of these finished and unfinished would be, and it was out by 1/2 inch by the measurements that were stated in the pattern. That was a little scary because I'd already cut the panel piece the size that was it said to cut it, and I'm thinking, is this going to fit? Well, it did and it didn't. I had to do a little bit of easing to get it to fit, which was fine because really it was out by about 1/4 inch in total after in the finished dimensions. So I was able to compensate for that by just, being careful, easing the fabric in without making any puckers. Okay. But then there was another problem I had. You see this border part up here? It looks like little bats on here. And I know in this picture it's probably not showing up all that clearly. Maybe I can blow this up a little bit. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Can I get you to the top? This is where I want to show you. Yeah. Okay, take a look here in this area. Notice how this piece does not align with this, and it didn't align here either. In fact, at each one of the corners, this does not line up. It's out by about 1/8 to 3/8 of an inch. I went back and ripped this back and tried to get it to line up, but I was going to have a lot of puckering if I did that. So that didn't work. So I decided to leave it. At least it's consistent on all 4 corners. So why is this? Did I do something wrong? Well, I double checked my measurements, my cutting and everything, and no, I did what they asked me to do. But the whole problem stems from where these pieces were out by about 1/4 inch, I think. Either that or her measurements were out. Again, I'm not absolutely sure. I'm leaving it. It's fine because in one sense, and now I don't know, maybe she did this on purpose, although it's not consistent. You notice here, you see it looks like these aren't matched up. They're not supposed to be matched up. That's actually how they are in the pattern. But when you look at the pattern picture, it's very hard to tell. It looks like these pieces over here are supposed to line up. Well, it is what it is. So I'm leaving it. Yeah. I swear that these pattern makers, some of them don't ever test their pattern. Have somebody else test it for them. So just keep that in mind. I know I've had a couple of people mention that they have bought the same pattern but haven't done it yet. So just watch for that. Maybe you'll have better luck with this part here. But do watch these pieces. The other thing you need to watch for, and did you find the mistake? I mentioned this the other day on Stephen and Walter Live. If you notice this strip here on this diamond piece that you create and use to join up these 2 longer flying geese strips, there is a spacer at the top and at the bottom. Over here, I only have a bottom spacer. I missed a spacer. And I'm not sure where it went because I did not have a strip of fabric left over. So I don't know where it went. And the other ironic thing about this, let me pull this back out a little bit if I can find the magnifying glass. The other thing about it is this strip then should have been shorter, and it was shorter than this one, but I got it to measure, to go into the quilt. I don't know how I did that. I mean, I must have stretched it a little bit to get it to fit, but I didn't realize that I was missing that piece until Walter told me. Of course, Walter told me. He takes a look at the thing, within 30 seconds went, what happened here? So, too late at that point. In order to fix that, well, I'd have to rip out all the borders to get at it. I'm not doing that. It's a Halloween quilt after all, so it's got some spooky elements that weren't intended, but they're there, at least in the sewing of it. So anyways, yeah, the top is done. I haven't quilted it yet. And, something like that, or even these little corner things, well, you know what they say, it'll all quilt out. But anyways, it's done. So there you are. Would I recommend this pattern? Given what I've already said about it, and if you're not an experienced quilter, no, I would not recommend this one for a beginner. And just beware. And I looked to see if there was corrections for this on the website, and a lot of this person's patterns had corrections. There's a whole list of them, which makes me a little worried. And this one was not listed. And, am I going to take the time to write to the person and say, there's mistakes in it? No, I'm not. And I'll tell you why. I'm pretty sure that I am right, that I didn't do anything wrong following this pattern, or having, make the changes that I made in order to make the pattern work. But I don't think I'll get any acknowledgement from the pattern designer about that. And yeah, whatever. Maybe it's me. I mean, I'm sitting here doubting myself now when I say this, but I'm pretty sure it was a combination of me and problems with this pattern. Like I said, they're not major problems. You can get around them. But yeah, just a word of advice on that. Would I buy another pattern designed by this person? Well, after I saw all the corrections on all the other patterns that are there, probably not, because that says to me there is not a thorough testing going on. I could be wrong, but yeah, it just makes me a little suspicious. Okay, so that's one project. Next project that I was working on, it's getting closer to being finished, is my Gnome table runner. And this is going to be a gift for somebody who's as much of a Gnome fanatic as I am. I've got all the panels done, the blocks done. I'm just working now on the sashing and blocks as well. I'm almost finished those, and then I can put it all together and it will be done. And I think it's really cute. And I use Tula Pink fabrics, and and I know some of you are going to say, oh my God, why are you using Tula Pink fabrics in something like this when you're cutting them into little pieces and the whole bit? Yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, that's what Tula Pink is good for. Cutting up for little pieces. I don't dislike Tula Pink, as you know, but I don't know what to do with it. It is just too busy for me. I do appreciate her artistic ability. The colors are fun that are in it, and it suits this project perfectly, the Tula Pink, I think. And I had a fat quarter bundle of Tula Pink, so that's what I'm using. I know there are some of you out there that are just rolling over and gasping for air because I did this to Tula Pink, but I like it, and I think it's really cute. And the Tula Pink works with it well. So as I said, this is going to be a Christmas present for a friend of mine. And that's all I want to say about it in case that friend of mine happens to see this. And if they do, they probably know who they are then. Some other things I've been making which are not quilting, but they're quilting related. I'll come back to those. Ruler racks. Now, I think it was Stephanie Stitches who mentioned this to me, because I had mentioned last week that I was running out of ideas for my 3D printer. And she said, what about a small ruler rack? And I thought, yes, I can do that. In fact, I have done that in the past. I have a couple of these that you see right in front of you that sit on my cutting mat table. In fact, I took two of these and glued them end to end together so they'll hold a little longer ruler. But this is where I keep my most frequently reached for rulers. And there's a little part in the back you can see, and that's where I keep my rotary cutter as well. So yeah, it works very well. It doesn't take up much space, and everything is right at your fingertips. So of course I decided to jazz it up a little bit. I added gnomes. Of course I added gnomes. That's the way I roll, right? Which is kind of fun. Now this is going to be a gift for someone, and she knows she's getting this, and that's for Stephanie. I did it in Stephanie blue because blue is her favorite color, and my little gnomie's on the side of it. Now, another type of ruler rack, though, that I'd forgotten all about is this. It's a little bit more plain, And again, this is designed, you can make several of these and put them together. There's actually a way to link them together that's built into the design. And I do use these as well for my larger rulers. This one's for smaller rulers, but as I said, if you extended it, it'll hold your larger rulers. And they work really well. And I did this in that dual color filament. So bonus gift for Stephanie. She's getting one of these too, but I did one of these in blue for her as well. Now the other thing that I decided, and it came from these ruler racks, while I was working on them and making these little gnome guys, little half gnomes, I called them the sliced gnomes, I thought, you know, I could design a little bracket, a little base, you can't see it in this picture, that holds two of these, and they're just wide enough to put in a stack of sticky notes. And you can have them sitting near your, your cutting mat or on your sewing machine or wherever you want. So I'm making a whole bunch of these, and they're going to go into the gift bags that I'm creating for the people at the at Stephanie's Georgia retreat in December. And I'm going to include a little pad of my personalized Idiot Quilter sticky notes. I just ordered about 30 of these pads. They're not cheap, I can tell you that. About $100 for 30 of them, but it's okay. It's worth it. And I'm going to stick those in the gift bags as well. Just a cute little novelty item with gnomes. Everything is gnomes. I know. I've got a problem. But I love my gnomes. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Now, some backlog projects, UFOs. I have a Christmas top that's all done. You've seen it in previous videos. That was the one called Regal Pines. I also have the what I call the shirt scrap quilt, which was a quilt I made from leftovers of the shirts that Walter makes for me. That's sitting on Lucy, and now the Halloween's sitting on Lucy. They all need to be quilted, so that's coming up soon. And once I have them completely finished, bound the whole bit, I will be showing them on here for you to enjoy. I hope you enjoy. Anyways, okay, so that takes me to some what's happening, what's coming up, what's new. There is, first of all, an announcement. There will not be a Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen this coming Wednesday, which would be September the 13th, because neither Stephanie nor I are going to be available. Stephanie's off to her next retreat, and Walter and I are off to Stratford, which is a place in Ontario about 2 hours west of us, because we've got tickets to see Rent on stage, and we're spending a couple of nights in that area. I'm going to do some quilt shopping too, because there's a few quilt stores I want to hit while we're there as well. Do I need more fabric? No. Do I want more fabric? Yes, because it brings me joy. So whatever brings you joy, right? So yeah, so no Stephanie and Stephen this coming Wednesday. We did have a pop-up sew day, though, this past Saturday, and there were about 30 of us there, and it was lots of fun. I think people got a lot of things done. I know I did. That's where I got the majority of that cats and bats quilt done, and it's always fun. It's always fun. Always learn something. Did I buy anything this time? Did anybody enable me? No. And that's a rarity. That's a rarity for sure. Though I think a few people were enabled to buy something as well on there from wherever. But anyways, when will the next pop-up sew day be? I don't know. I'm thinking possibly at the end of September, because I am about to go into, and after I get this posted, I'm going to start working on it, getting things together for the retreat in October. The fall retreat, my retreat, the Idiot Quilter retreat, on October the 21st. So in the next week and a half, you should see announcements about this. Those of you on my mailing list, you'll probably be getting a whole thing about that as well, and when I'm going to open up the registration. And for those of you that are new and have never been to one of my retreats, they're lots of fun. I have guest speakers. It's an all-day affair on a Saturday. October the 21st, as I said, is a Saturday. It starts at 8 in the morning, runs until about 5 in the afternoon. As I said, I have 3 guest speakers lined up. There'll be more details about them coming. And there's prizes and other surprises as well. So prizes and surprises. And it's lots of fun. And we start the whole thing off the night before with a cocktail party, a pre-retreat cocktail party where, you can sew during that if you wish, or usually we just sit around and drink. Well, you can drink whatever you want. It does not necessarily have to be an adult beverage, as they say. Walter and I will be enjoying an adult beverage, though, and probably having some charcuterie. And we just get funnier with the more we drink, so that in itself is worth the price of admission, which is free. It's always free. Everything about it's free. So, yeah, more details coming out very soon. And so somewhere between then and now, I'll probably squeeze in another pop-up sew day or two. Okay, so I did a little shopping. I had a special visit from a special person. More about that in a minute. But we went off to Ultimate Sewing, and I needed a few things, and so here's what I picked up. And just let me find the pictures. Here we go. Okay, so I needed a little bit more of that fabric for that cats and bats quilt. And so in the foreground here, you can see this is cats and bats and moons. This is part of the line that went into that quilt. It wasn't very clear in the picture that I took of it, but those flying geese triangles, some of them are made up. Flying geese triangles. Just say flying geese, I guess, in the triangular part. Okay, that's what I meant. Are made up of this fabric. I also needed some more fabric to make some more gift bags. So I picked up these two, a couple of meters of these as well. And I needed backing for the scrap shirt quilt. So I bought 3 meters of this. But now, just having looked at this right now, I'm thinking this might work better as backing for the Halloween quilt. And I'll probably have something else I can put that I have already in my stash for the other one. I haven't made up my mind on that. I will, though. And then I had a visit from Philippa. Philippa is one of my subscribers. She is from Australia, Brisbane to be exact, and we have been to Brisbane. And we love all things Australian, and we love Australian people. So we had the opportunity to meet Philippa. Now, Philippa came over here for a couple of reasons. One, she was going to one of Stephanie's retreats, the one that Stephanie had in Washington State a couple of weeks ago. And 2, she was delivering her daughter to the Ontario College of Art in Toronto. So she was here for that, to help get her daughter all set up with that. Also, Philippa's husband is Canadian, and he has lots of relatives here, so he wanted to visit some of his relatives in Ottawa and Kingston, and they were staying, I think, at, I believe it was the sister or brother-in-law or something related to Philippa in one part of Toronto. So they were out here for a while. And I didn't know if we'd get a chance to, because she had her schedule was pretty tied up, whether we would get a chance to meet or not. But the stars were in alignment, and we were able to meet up on the day after Labor Day, last Tuesday. So Philippa took the GO train, which is a commuter train from Toronto out here to Oshawa. Walter and I went down, met her at the station, picked her up, and immediately whisked her off to Ultimate Sewing. And she had a few things she wanted to buy, and that's when I picked up this stash as well. So that was a lot of fun. More about Philippa's visit along with a video a little later in today's episode. But I want to show you, Philippa gave me a really nice gift, and this is what Philippa gave me. Of course, Philippa knew that I'm in love with anything Australian, so she gave me these 2 panels of Australian animals. And she also made me this adorable mug rug, because she also knows I love kangaroos. They're so fluffy. I just love kangaroos. When I was in Australia, I had several opportunities to get up close and personal with kangaroos and feed them, and to the point where they take their little front paws and put them right on my shoulders and eat out of your hand. They are so, so cute. I know that native Australians, especially out in the rural areas of Australia, have a different opinion about kangaroos. But as a tourist, as a non-Australian, I love them. And I love a lot of their animals. They have such cute faces. Like, look at these little guys. I think that's a wombat, this big fuzzy one. And I'm not sure what this might be quokka. I'm not sure. And of course, emu or ostrich. I think it might be an emu. I'm not sure. And this, I am not sure what kind of bird this is. But yeah, and there was a couple of, I've got it folded under in order for the picture. So there's a couple of other animals as well. So what I've done is I've put this in. I have a drawer that has nothing but Australian fabrics in it, waiting for the perfect pattern. And now that I have these, I think I will see if I can find a pattern where I incorporate these pictures into it. Either that, or I make them into a block, each one into a block that I can sort of frame and put on the walls in my sewing room. Maybe. I don't know. I'll wait and see. Inspiration will hit. But anyways, thank you so much, Philippa, for this. I absolutely love them. Okay, so I was mentioning Philippa here, and so I thought maybe you'd like to meet Philippa. Now, I intended to take more video than I actually did, and we got talking. Well, what we did was, after we went to the quilt store, we came back to our place here so she could see where the magic happens. And she said, "This is so surreal." I guess. You know, you only see limited portions when I make a video here of our home, but she got the grand tour of that. And on top of it all, we needed to shop my stash because there was a certain line of fabric she was looking for. And I thought I had some of that here. I had a little of it, and I did find some for her that would work in what she was doing. I didn't have much of it, though, but I just gave it to her because I was done with it. I made my things out of that fabric. I think it was Fairy Frost, they call it. It's a beautiful line of fabric, but not easy to get anymore because it came out a couple of years ago. And you know what happens with fabrics. They come, they go, kind of a thing. So, you know, if you don't buy oodles of it when you love it, you may never see it again. So anyways, we got that for her. Of course, we were talking all the time about things, and I was not taking video. And then we took her out to lunch. So I think I did get a little bit of that on the video as well. So I'm sorry, it's not as much of a video clip as I would like to have shown you, but you're going to see some of it anyway. So I'm going to insert it here right now. Okay, everybody, look who we picked up at the GO station. It's Philippa, and is it Philippa or Philippa? Either. Okay, either way it comes out, I'll change it both. But guess where we are? We're at Ultimate Sewing Center with Philippa, so she's going to get an experience in here of my favorite quilt store.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, here's Philippa from Brisbane, Australia. As you saw her standing in front of Ultimate Sewing, we were in there for about an hour, and all the ladies were helping her out, and she was buying lots of fabric. How did you like that store?
It was wonderful. It was beautiful. And to see all the fabric was amazing. And as Stephen said, I managed to buy a little bit of fabric, which I was delighted at.
And then we brought her up to our house and showed her what she's only seen on camera before. And we shopped my stash.
Yeah.
There were some fabrics that she was looking for, and I happened to have a little bit of those. So they might as well go to a good home as far as I'm concerned, because I'm done with them.
Yep.
And so and now we're at Melanie Pringle's in Whitby, this town next door to us. And there's Walter looking, and we're having lunch here as well. And so we're enjoying our time with Philippa. We're sharing all kinds of notes about all kinds of things. We've done a few character assassinations, but we're not going to tell you who those are. You'll just have to guess. And some of you out there will know who we're talking about. And yeah, we're having a good time. So
having a wonderful time.
So your overall trip, so how much longer are you in our country?
Unfortunately, I leave on Friday. Friday the 8th. And then I arrive in Brisbane on Sunday the 10th.
And so how have you enjoyed it? I mean, you've been to Canada before
Yes.
and all of that, and you're married to a Canadian. And,
Yes.
Yeah. But so overall, how are you feeling about the country now?
Oh, I love it. Canada's always been my second home. My father was Canadian, and I married a Canadian, so it's wonderful. It feels like I'm coming home. I love it here, and I've managed to meet some people that I've become friends with, and I've really enjoyed that a lot.
And of course, you've met the celebrities now. You met Stephanie, and of course you've met Walter and I. So I mean, your life is complete right there. You can go home very happy about it. And I am hoping that maybe next year we get to Australia again, because everybody on here knows how much we love Australia and love Aussies as well. And and if we are, we're planning. We'll
come to Brisbane.
We'll try to make it to Brisbane. We've been to Brisbane before. We love Brisbane, so we may try that one again as well. Just because you're there. That's what it's going to be all about.
Wonderful.
So, okay. So, everybody, told you Philippa was coming. You've now seen it with your own eyes. It's true.
So, yes, I was thrilled to meet Philippa, a lovely, lovely person. I am very happy to be able to say that I consider us friends. And maybe if we go back to Australia and if we go to the Brisbane area, maybe we'll be able to see Philippa again. And that's not an impossibility because we are actually talking about possibly going to Australia in the spring. So I don't know. We need to start working on that if we're really going to do that and commit to the idea, because we need to start planning now. Okay, so moving on. A demo today. Someone asked me to show a video of what I keep in my Alex units, my IKEA drawers. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of boring. I've got the usual kind of stuff in there and everything. And I did show you, I think it was on last week's video, the new Alex drawers that I bought, and I had them labeled and that kind of thing. But that got me thinking about storage in general with IKEA. Now, we all know IKEA is the place to go if you're looking for storage ideas. But I thought I'd show you how I use them and what my plans are for future additions of IKEA furniture in my sewing area. So I made a little video about that. One of my subscribers wanted to know what I keep in my Alex drawers and how I organize them. And so that got me thinking about my organization, because I'm constantly changing it. And so I thought I would start by showing you the new the new thing I got, these Alex drawer sets, which I really love the Alex drawer sets. I mean, they're not that difficult to put together, especially if you have someone like Walter who puts them together for me, but they do offer a lot of space. So you can see here I have labeled each drawer with what's in them. I have one drawer that's not labeled. Let's move the garbage can, shall we, out of the way, because that one's an empty drawer. And I really don't do a good job of organizing the drawers inside. Now, I'm thinking in the future I should go to the dollar store, take some measurements, and get a few little plastic baskets that might fit in these drawers and would help me to organize them more. So this drawer is bag hardware, as it says. Clips and hooks, miscellaneous, that's the junk drawer. And I need to go through this and take stuff out that I can donate to other people, because there's things I don't use. Another junk drawer. So 2 drawers listed as miscellaneous, which is just the polite way of saying junk drawer. Fabric paint, which I never use. My serger threads. Empty drawers, I said. Plastic bags, wax paper, and plastic bags and wax paper. And I need to do a better job of organizing those in there as well. So that's that drawer set. Now, if we go down here, you can see I have more. Now this one, this is where I store all of my embroidery threads. And to keep them from rolling around, I created a little holder with holes in it for the base of the threads. It's several sheets of foam board kind of a thing. And it took a while to make, but it does keep my threads very well organized until you get down to something like that drawer. I need to do some reorganizing. And you notice that I have numbers these supposedly match up to what threads I have in each of these drawers. Yeah, I need to go in and clean those up a little bit. Now, this unit is not really anything much to do with sewing. It's just other things like LED lights, electronics, sound recording stuff, 3D printing stuff, and miscellaneous things like that. Now, one thing about these Alex drawers is when you first get them and you assemble them, there's a safety feature. There's a little screw that goes in one of these bars in here. I'm not exactly sure. And what it does is it keeps you from pulling the drawer right out. So basically, this is all the storage space you get, but there's about a third of the drawer that's way back in here that you can't see anything in, but you can in mine because I took that out. Now, of course, I have to keep in mind that I don't want to yank the drawer really fast out because the whole drawer will come out because it doesn't have those stops anymore. But if you want to get more useful storage space in your drawers, then you may not want to install that little screw that keeps your drawer from coming out any further than that, because it's very hard to get your hand in there to find anything or see it. I think they put those in the drawers in the first place as a safety device. So what other things do I use IKEA for? Well, I've had this for years. I don't even know if they even sell this particular style at IKEA anymore, but that is just a general cabinet I've had in this room forever. And it holds, as you can see, I label all of my stuff because I don't know where it's going to come from or what's in them because I forget. So this is stationery, so envelopes, paper, folders, things like that. Another thing from IKEA that I use, and this you cannot get anymore, and this I bought 28 years ago. When we moved into this house, we decided that this room was going to be my office at that point in time, and eventually became a craft room, and now it's the sewing room. And we put in these counters. We went to a local lumber place, hardware place, and picked up these countertops, and Walter bolted them to the wall, and they're supported by these filing cabinets. Now, these filing cabinets were from IKEA, and it was something they used to sell. They haven't sold these in years. As I said, this is 28 years old. But these have been really great because, well, you can see I keep office supplies in them, and the bottom drawers are actually filing drawers as well. And I have 3 of them along here, and I have another couple along here and with these counters on it. So, you know, you can, and I'm sure you know this, with IKEA, you can make anything into sort of a counter space. Now, these are not from IKEA, these cabinets, but you can get cabinets at IKEA, and they're not that hard to put together and not that hard to mount to your wall. Of course, you have to make sure you screw them into the studs of the wall because otherwise, well, they'll fall over. I have a set here, and on this side of the room, I have another set over here. And I would like to go through those and reorganize them. I have more stuff in there that I can clean out because I'd really like to use them for more sewing supplies, quilting supplies in there. Right now, they're holding old crafting supplies, binders of stuff that I'm sure I don't need anymore in here too. And you can see it's all piled up in here. And, you know, things for my printers like ink cartridges and things like that. But I think I could do a better job of organizing these, maybe with some baskets. That would really probably help. Now, is there anything else in this room from IKEA? Not really, but I'm going to show you a future expansion for IKEA, and I'm going to take you with me as we go into the Lucy room where I keep my long arm. And so here's Lucy. She's all cleaned up. She's ready for me to put this quilt on it and get it quilted. But this room's a mess, as you can see. A lot of stuff piled up here all the way around. What I want to do, there's some of those cabinets, I don't think these ones came from IKEA either, but they're here because I share this with my husband. It's his workshop as well. But down here, you can see these. These are all mismatched little cheapo plastic bins that have various things for the long arm in them. I want to clean those all out and get 3 low riding Alex units
to put under here because they will fit. I've taken measurements for it, and I have seen other people do a similar thing with the Alex drawers. And then I'll be able to transfer a lot of the stuff, which is like backing fabric, pantographs, other miscellaneous things that go along with Lucy, and put them all in there, and it'll look a little bit nicer and clean up this room. Might even look at the potential of getting something in the Alex line, if I can find something that's the right height, to put under these tables to clean this mess up under here a little bit, make this room a little bit more neat. And again, maybe figure out some way of having my quilts in a little better storage than what I'm doing with them right here, right now. So that's essentially how I use IKEA products. I love them. Everybody does. Yes, there's some assembly required, but you know, in the long run, they really do take a space and make it a little neater and gives you more organized storage.
Okay, so that takes me to subscribers quilt of the week, and this is from Nobody Strange. And what I mean by that is somebody we all know. We've seen some of her beautiful creations before. And actually, we saw one of her beautiful creations last week. Well, we're going to see another one this week. And this is from Julie Moffel. This week's quilt of the week is Deja Vu. And that's not the title of the quilt. That means this particular quilt submission. It's from Julie Moffel, and we saw one of her beautiful creations last week, and so we're seeing another one this week. And Julie mentions or says in a note about this quilt is an attempt to use up fabric from 5 men's shirts and some white fabric. I got more than enough fabric from one shirt that made the binding, and the other 4 shirts made the squares. The pattern is my own, and I quilted it on my home machine. It measures 47 by 59. Well, it's a really beautiful use of fabric that has been used before in another project, and just like my scrap shirt quilt, or shirt scrap quilt, whatever, you know what I mean. I made a quilt from the fabrics that were used in those shirts, and this one is also using the same technique, and I really love it. Red is not usually one of my favorite colors, but I like the effective use of it in this. And the quilting you've done is also very nice. It's subtle, but adds a lot of texture to your quilt. And your border treatments with the keystones are really nice as well. So thank you, Julie, for sharing this project with us as well. So that takes me to the YouTube channel of the week, or the YouTube video of the week. And of course, you know I love doing scrap quilts. I just made that one from the scrap pieces from the shirts that Walter makes me and that kind of thing. And I just found a video that I think you'll enjoy. If you've got to mount scrap more like everybody has, then this might be of interest to you. And this is called the Scrap Explosion Quilt, using your leftover fabric. It's by Fallon from So Be It Quilts. I'm sorry, Fallon, if I got that wrong. You'll know what it is in a minute when you see the video clip, so here it is. This week's YouTube of the week comes from someone I'm sure you're very much familiar with, and if you're not, you should be checking out her YouTube channel. This is Fallon Caldwell, and her YouTube channel is called So Be It Quilts. But this particular video I really liked. I like all of Fallon's videos, but this one I really liked because it gave me a lot of great ideas for how to use up my scraps. Now, if you're like me, you probably have bins full of scraps, and you have great desires to use it for some project in the near future, but you never get to it. Well, if you watch this particular video, I'm sure you're going to be inspired to dig out those big bins of scraps and to use them up for some very creative and excellent projects. So if you're looking for ideas for how to use up those scrap fabrics, check out Fallon's Scrap Explosion Quilt. Use your leftover fabric for some great ideas. Yes, so sorry about that, Fallon. It is So Be It Quilts. I should know that. I watch her all the time. I love her videos. Okay, so that takes me to future projects. So this one is a pattern by Moda. I believe it's a free pattern, and it's called Sunny Day. This week's future pattern is one that I found while I was looking for free patterns for using up charm squares. And this one came up on the Moda site, and it's called Sunny Day. And it's really quite a cheerful looking quilt in the colors that they have used. Now, if I was to make it, I probably wouldn't use those colors, but I can see potential here for making it a scrappy quilt as well. It's a free pattern, as I said, and I have the notes or the link for this PDF file in the show notes below. And you can see that it's basically using a lot of half square triangles to create the various blocks. Notice it talks about using your charm packs, so that's great if you've got some charm packs and you want a coordinated look. Maybe using a couple of charm packs from your stash would work very well with this. And as far as binding, it's just fabric that you cut from your bolts of fabric or whatever you have. So it looks like it's a fairly easy pattern to do. And I think it might go together fairly fast, and it has a couple of different blocks in it. So this one is one that I've got in my list of things to attempt at some point in the future. When that is, I don't know, but it's called Sunny Day by Moda. So this is the spot where I usually have a teaser for an interview, and I haven't had an interview in a while, although I do have one scheduled for, I believe, next week. And then that'll come out. It won't come out on next week's video. It'll be the week after that. But I do have one. Now, you have been sending me suggestions, and I thank you for those suggestions. Some of them are just not feasible because for various reasons or whatever. However, if you've got more, keep sending them to me because I do research them and make a determination whether or not these are ones that I think will fit into what I'm trying to do with my interviews. But one thing I'd like you to note is that I get a lot of duplicate suggestions, and they're ones I've already interviewed these people. So I have put a link in my show notes below to my playlist of interviews that I have done. And if you've got an idea for someone you think I should interview, you might want to, before you send me off an email with that, just glance through that list. In the title of each one, I list the person that's being interviewed, so you'll know whether or not I've done them. I've done quite a few interviews. I was surprised about that when I took a look at that playlist. I've done a lot on there. So, if you think about it, you've got a name or something, just, take a look and see if it's somebody I've already done. Okay. So that takes me to this week's online quilt store. This is called Nancy's Fibre Art Shop. This week's online quilt store is called Nancy's Fibre Art Shop, and it's located in Beamsville, Ontario. And, well, this is their front page of their shop, and they have a slideshow showing some of their fabrics. It looks like they love Tilda. They have a little bit about themselves as well. And they have featured products on the page too. So let's take a look at their, just one more thing down at the bottom. They actually have a map as to how to get to them. And I thought it said Beamsville, Ontario, but I'm wrong. It's actually Lincoln, Ontario is where they're located. I don't know why it was listed under Beamsville in a directory I went to, but anyways, it doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. Let's do some shopping, shall we? Let's check out their fabric. Well, they have batting books, buttons, fabric, kits, knitting notion, patterns, pre-cuts, sewing quilting notions, thread, yarn, Tilda pre-cuts, pre-orders, classes, block of the month, buttons, clubs, crochet, hand embroidery, knitting. Okay. Making a Christmas gift or two, quilting, sewing, and wool applique. So they've got quite a lot of things listed here. So let's jump into their fabric, because that's what we usually go to a quilt store for most. All categories fabric. They have 104 to choose from, and it's broken down by season, Moda, Tilda, Free Spirit Fabrics, Liberty of London, and Maywood Studio. Doesn't seem like there might be a huge selection. But let's drop into, let's say, well, since Tilda is something they specialize in it by the looks of things, let's check out what they have. They have several different collections by Tilda and their basics. Well, let's check out the price on their basics. So these are just your solids. And no, there's other, this is expensive. They're not cheap. But Tilda fabric is not cheap to start with. So $24.99 and I'm assuming that's by a meter. Let's just click on one and see if it tells us. Yes, it's by meter. Okay, let's go back. And then they have some at $21.99. Well, let's just see if that just happens to be just because of tilde. Let's see what else do they have in their fabric lines. Let's go to Moda. And they only have 2 collections basically here by the looks of things, and it's $21.95 a meter as well. Okay, that is at the high end of the price range right now for fabrics by the meter. Let's take a look at one more thing. Let's go back. And let's check out Free Spirits, because I like their fabric. They have some pre-cuts and a lot of cafe. Now the cafe isn't a bad price, $19.99 a meter. Again, a little bit on the high side, but it is cafe. Not a lot to choose from there. And I also noticed that they had under their fabric, they also had Liberty of London. They only show 3. Yeah, 10-inch squares, $89.99. Charm pack, $25.99. And then a fat quarter bundle for $119.99. So really not a great deal of selection in that. But I wouldn't expect it, because Liberty of London fabrics are not particularly easy to get your hands on here in our area. And they have Maywood Studio as well. Okay, so their prices on their fabric are at the higher end of that. I wonder what their shipping is like. Let's see if they have a section on shipping. They have FAQs. Nothing here talking about shipping. Okay. So let's put something in a cart and see what happens. Fabric. Let's buy some Moda. Let's buy this. Let's buy a couple of meters of that. Add to cart. Proceed to checkout. Okay. Checkout. Okay, shipping. Economy, $15. So it's a flat rate by the looks of things. Okay, that's not unreasonable, and I imagine that's only in Canada. If they have American shipping, I guess you'd have to contact them and see what they do when it comes to that. All right, let's get this out of our cart because I really don't want that. Let's take a look at their specials. Best sellers. Okay, that's just toplessy clearance. Nothing is on sale. All right, nothing really in that category to speak of. Classes. Okay, they have a classroom. Looks very nice, their classroom. They have a block of the month. A couple of blocks of the month. In fact, they all look like blocks of the month. This may not be. $90. So what does that get you? Okay, that's attendance. Add to cart. That's the class fee. It's not really showing you. Let's see. Basic program fees are as follows. Month 1. 11-month program begins in December. Beginner friendly. Month 1. December, $182.25. Includes the book, block 1, and all the embellishing threads. This looks like it's more of an embroidery or applique class. Then it's $25 for each month from January to October. Month 11 is $44. This is pricey. Very, very pricey. It includes the materials though, but still very pricey, I think. Plus the class fee of $90. I don't know. That's a little bit much. They have private classes. They have a knitting circle, and it looked like they had also listed in here. In other ones, looks like they had drop-in kind of things or whatever. Okay. Gallery, info, about us, contact. Okay, so Nancy's Fibre Art Shop. Will I be ordering anything from them soon? No, I'm afraid not. I think they're a little bit on the high side for their fabric, although they are selling fairly upper end fabrics as well, like Tilda. If you're into Tilda, that looks like this might be the place to go. Shipping is not bad at $15 if that's a flat rate, and I'm assuming that's only in Canada or in Ontario. It might be more outside of the province or even outside of the country. Their specials weren't that special, and their classes, if I was in the area and I want to learn a very special technique, maybe I would consider it, but it looked pretty pricey to me for that kind of thing. So anyways, that is Nancy's Fibre Art Shop. Maybe there's something there that appeals to you. Okay, so that brings me pretty much to the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter. And just a reminder, no sewing with Stephanie and Stephen this coming Wednesday. We will resume, though, the following Wednesday, which would be, let's see, the 20th. Okay, so nothing on the September 13th, but back on track September 20th. So you have a week off from us. You might be happy about that. I don't know. But anyways, well, at least you'll be happy. You're not going to see my ugly mug on Wednesday with it. But you may be sad because Stephanie isn't there. All right. So, yeah, that's everything from me today. I got to get started on working on the plans for the retreat for October 21st. And, yeah, I hope you have a really great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.